This is Jorge Rivera with FirstCoast.tv, and I have the pleasure to be with
Joe Marks.
Okay, Joe. I'm here at the St. Cyprian's Church here, and my question is: there's an event. Can you tell me a little bit about the event that's going on here today?
Sure, it's part of the Golden Way Project, Films That Make a Difference, and the documentary that we're going to show this afternoon is Children of the Civil Rights, and we have the director of the documentary as well as one of the sit-inners from Oklahoma City who, as a 7-year-old girl, was part of the sit-ins, peaceful sit-ins in Oklahoma City that ran for 6 years until they finally got all the restaurants integrated. And it was a peaceful sit-in. Never made much national news because there wasn't much violence. The Golden Way Project was put together by the St. Augustine Film Society, which I run, as a way of using film, which is a powerful medium, to start dialogues between members of the community on various social issues that affect us all, such as civil rights, religious tolerance, human trafficking, all sorts of issues, as a way of bringing the community together by setting up this dialogue which will allow people to understand and appreciate differences of opinion without all of this yelling. If you look at a newspaper, for years now, it's just been one side battling the other. And I am trying to do my part in my little corner of the world to mitigate some of that and for us to all get along.
Well, the Golden Way Project here, how long has this been going on?
This is the inaugural event of the Golden Way Project. We have been planning several events for April and May, and this project just kind of fell into our lap. I was contacted by the director several weeks ago. She was presenting this documentary at a national convention of history and social studies educators that was being held at Flagler College. And she wanted an opportunity to be able to show this documentary to other members of the community besides educators.
How long did it take to make this documentary? Do you have an idea?
Yeah, it took her 8 years. 8 years of her life to put together 60 minutes of film.
Unbelievable. There's a lady here who's a journalist, who's one of the children in that civil rights event. Her name?
Is Ayana Najuma.
Right. I believe she's 7 years old?
She was 7 years old, and she continued these sit-ins until she was 14. And it was a protest by children and teenagers.
Wow.
The adults really didn't partake, but it was not violent. Apparently the theory was that if they used children as the protesters, that there was less chance of violence erupting like had happened in various other locations, Selma, Montgomery, and other places.
Mm-hmm. And my other question, if people wanted to see this documentary, where would they have access for it?
There is a website whose name escapes me right now.
Okay. I can put it at the end of this little interview. People
Okay,
can go to
because
it.
there is a website where you can purchase the documentary. There's also a set of the film plus a student workbook DVD that can be used in a classroom setting.
Okay.
As I had mentioned before, she was presenting this to history educators and social studies educators.
I see. So what would you say is the long-term goal of the Golden Way Project?
The long-term goal is to make a more cohesive community where people respect other people who may not believe the same things, who have differences of opinions about what needs to be done in this country, but at least can talk to each other and explain their point of view, maybe we can start getting something accomplished. If I can't do it on a national scale, maybe I can start something in my small little neck of the woods. There was a project that's ongoing in Newport News, Virginia, called People to People, that was a mix of government officials and civil rights activists and social activists and various other components of the community that formed a committee that periodically would meet and just discuss the various problems in that community. And it's worked very well since, I believe, 1992.
Wow. Well, I wish you the best on this project. I see that the church is starting to fill up. Many people are coming to, hear what is to be said and see this documentary. And it's always small steps like these that, start changing the world to a better place. So I congratulate you, my friend.
Thank you. And let's hope that this is a start to something good and useful. Thank you.
Thank you. And I have the director, and I have one of the people who are part of that documentary at a very young age. So your name is?
My name is Julia Clifford.
Mm-hmm. And you are?
I'm the director of Children of the Civil Rights documentary film.
Okay. And you are?
I'm Ayana Najuma. I was one of the original sit-inners in the Oklahoma City sit-in movement at Katz Drugstore, beginning in 1958.
Mm-hmm. Now, how long did this documentary take to make?
It took me 7 years to make. I first heard the story about 8 years ago from my father. And I grew up in Oklahoma. I had never heard this story. Yeah. So I started interviewing, and then over the course of 7 years, finally finished it February 1st of this year. And now we're getting it out there to teachers and schools and libraries and all over the place.
Now, for someone who was so young when you were part of a historical event in civil rights, and now you find yourself here to see this documentary, share it with people, what's the feeling? I mean, what's going through your mind and soul?
The feeling is that many times you don't know what God has in store for you. Mm-hmm. You may start out on one path as a young child of 7, but then many years later, God puts an idea in your heart to support a project that's so powerful, so impacting, that will change the course of history. That is the primary goal for me, is to be able to look at that little 7-year-old face and say, look what I've done, but looking and empowering young people to see what they can do.
Yeah, it's very interesting because the revolution in South Africa started with the children also.
Right.
And so I found that that connection very, very strong, for people wanting to be free and just be equals in a society. So, I thank you both. And where could we watch this documentary if we're not here today?
You can see the trailer by visiting childrenofthecivilrightsfilm.com. And you can, on that website, you can also, there will be a link in April for purchasing the film online. Or you can just simply give me a call. The phone number's on the website.
I want to thank you both as people with the courage like you that makes a difference in our world.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.